Gee, it's a shame this isn't going to be open this year. Really sad that these people aren't. Oh. Hello, monster lovers, horror movie fans, and mask collectors, and other Halloween enthusiasts. It's time once again for Creepy Cheapies with Dr. Lady. I, of course, am Vasco da Gama, and today's mask is a really nice one of this old friend of yours. They call him, but not to his face, Pinhead. I know, I hate calling him Pinhead because that sounds like a put down. Actually, as monsters go, Pinhead is actually a pretty well-read and educated and rather, well-spoken, erudite sort of monster. And I feel like he deserves a better name. But originally in the movies, which were, of course, the Hellraiser franchise movies based on stories and books by author Clive Barker, originally he was just referred to as the head Cenobite or the priest Cenobite priest. But Cenobite was too complicated of a word, I guess, for us Americans, so it had to be simplified to, oh, Pinhead, he's got pins in his head. See? Yeah. I think he should have been given a better name than that because he's a better character than just Pinhead, But old Pinhead, as the moniker stuck, became known as simply Pinhead in the million or so movies in the Hellraiser franchise. Now, this has been done a number of times over the years. Any number of collector busts and high-end latex and resin and wax, all kinds of likenesses of this particular version, which is actor Doug Bradley, who played Pinhead in the first few movies. And he looks pretty much the same in all the movies. This is technically a Hellraiser 3 Pinhead, but they're all very, very close. And we're going to get even closer thanks to this remote device here, which will allow you a close look at this beautifully sculpted one, which came out in, I believe, 2016 from the folks at Ghoulish Productions. All right, now this has been done, as I mentioned, a lot of times by other different artists. There have been lots of versions of this Pinhead character, and a few mass-produced commercial masks before this one. Namely, one from Dompo Studios, and back in the 90s, Cinema Secrets had not one but two versions, or depending on how you look at it, three versions even, of the Pinhead Hellraiser mask. But I believe that the best one is the 2016, 17, 18, and 19 one, which was announced as being discontinued in 2020. So if you're watching this in the year, 2068, you might have a hard time finding one of these. Yeah, but if it's not too long after 2020, you should be able to score one for around the original retail price, which was about 60 to 65 to 70 bucks, somewhere in that range. Now, this was sculpted by a phenomenally talented guy, Anders Lerche of Denmark, of all places. You don't really think of Halloween when you think of Denmark, but this guy who sculpted this, Anders, he's going to change that because he's a phenomenally great sculptor, and he's bringing the worldwide and American traditions of Halloween to more of the folks in Denmark, I think. But this is a wonderful sculpture that he did. It looks like Doug Bradley, and it looks like Pinhead, and as you can see, it's got the collar sculpted in. This is molded in all one piece. The paint job isn't spectacular, but it doesn't need to be because Pinhead's makeup is pretty much just one color, this kind of deathly pale bluish white color. Now, there were three versions of this offered, this being the deluxe, and if you didn't want to spend that much, you could get one for about $40–45. That is the standard Pinhead, Hellraiser 3 Pinhead from Ghoulish, and this is how it comes, okay? Now, as you can see, he doesn't have his nails installed in his head, but they're here in this packet. You get this little package of plastic pins, as they call them, to stick in the head. Now, the holes where the pins go have been pre-punched in the rubber, so you don't have to get a little tiny drill bit and make a million holes in. But you do have to take these and push them through and stick the end on there. Now, the way it's really done, as you can see, the outer end, the end that sticks out into the air as opposed to into your head, Okay, this end has a little tiny, almost like a canister shape to it, like a tiny little hat or a tiny little shrunken down soup can sort of shape. That's the way it's supposed to be. And on the inside of the mask, there's a tiny little flat disc that you stick on, and it, you know, grips onto there and holds it. And if you, well, depending on how you do that, you might end up putting them in backwards, like one friend of mine did, because he thought it looked better with the flat nail heads sticking out. It's just a little plain flat disc rather than the canister shape sticking out, because it looked more like a nail, like a carpenter uses, which is okay, except you can't really wear it, because then you have all these little square things sticking in your face if you try to wear the mask. So if you really insist on doing it the other way and having the smaller heads on the outside where they're visible, I'd say that's not going to be a wearable one that you're going to want to wear. That's going to be one to put on a dummy for the haunted house, or in the yard at Halloween, or just in your dining room, just to brighten up the place or frighten up the place. And the third version offered, and I don't have one here to show you, but take my word for it, there was also simply a face mask, which looked just the same, except it just didn't have the back of the head. And that too had the plastic pins that go in there, and there's no glue or anything required. They hold together. You just stick them in there. There they go. Now, I don't know that they all came with the pins separate necessarily, because I bought this one in 2017, I think. This was an early one, but it came pre-pinned. All these were already, I didn't have to do it on this one. I don't know if all of the deluxe ones were like that. I think some of them, they decided it was better to go ahead and put the pins in a separate thing because of having to store these before the consumers get them, and having to pack them away and mail them and such. I think they decided it was better to package it this way and let the consumer, the mask buyer, put the pins in. So I don't know if they all were like that, but that's what I'm told. So that's about all we have to say about your old friend Pinhead from Hellraiser here. They did also make a full costume to go with it, though, so you might want to check that out as well if you want to dress up as the character and scare people at Halloween, or if you just want to have that dummy in your dining room that looks like Pinhead here. But Ghoulish Productions, Hellraiser 3, Pinhead, sculpted by Anders Lerka, and I give it 3 thumbs up. Wait, where's my other thumb? Bring me that, somebody.